What's up guys, Sheldon back with another review, and today we're looking at the Mythic Legion's JORUND RuneShaper. JORUND? I'm not sure. Let's go ahead and take a look at the box really quickly though. So here is the information on the back over here. Let me kind of focus here. Go ahead and pause if you want to take a look at the, information here. Here is JORUND's profile. Go ahead and pause if you want to read that. And then here is the symbol of his particular faction, and then here's the front of the box here, just says Mythic Legions, the name of the lion, and has some nice box art over here. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and take a look at all of the accessories that JORUND comes with. Alright, so here's a visual of everything that JORUND comes with. So he comes with a cape over here, he comes with an extra head, he comes with a dagger and a longsword, a spear. He comes with a piece, it's like a belt that you can sling over his shoulder on his waist where you can hold his weapons. And he comes with a set of pauldrons over here. Okay, well, let's go ahead and take a closer look at each of these though. Let me go ahead and set this camera down here. And let me just push these aside. Alright, so the cape itself, let's start with that, is pretty self-explanatory. It's just a piece of cloth and it's got these 4 holes over here, and how you get those to work is essentially at the back of JORUND. His head's popped off right now, but you have these holes over here. And you have these pauldrons, and how the pauldrons work, which we'll get to next, I suppose, though, is you see you just like peg them into the back, and so essentially you can kind of already guess what that is. You just line up the holes with the pegs of the pauldrons, and then you just like plug them in. You can kind of play around with it, but how I would do it, and I probably can't do it on camera though, but how I like to do it, and you'll see in the pictures at the end, is when you peg in the pauldrons like this, you do it in the first one, and then on the side. Oh gosh, let me pull out here for you all. Whoa, so slick. All right, but what you do is you have these holes in the middle and then the hole on the side. So what I do is I put the hole in the middle, but then I go to the front over here, and then I actually drape the cape over the pauldrons and then get it to go through this piece hanging down right here. I don't know if you can tell. So that it sits over the entire shoulder pad like this. So you do it for both sides and it ends up looking pretty nicely. You'll see in the pictures though. But that's the cape itself. And while I'm holding the pauldrons over here, done pretty nicely. And we'll talk about the paint and sculpt separately, but overall the pauldrons do hinder the articulation, but overall it's painted pretty cleanly. You get 1 for each side. He also comes with this spear. It's just a single color, nothing too exciting. And then he also comes with, again, these daggers, not daggers, the dagger, and the sword, and the handles are painted in purple to match his color scheme. And he also comes with this little plastic piece that you can sling over his shoulder, either like this, let me see. So you get it to move over his head, and then you just pop the head back on over here, or you can get it onto his waist. Okay, and speaking of popping the head back on though, JORUND comes with 2. This is the one I actually prefer personally. You get this bucket helm over here, which is painted very, very nicely. The lines on the cross are painted pretty cleanly. And even this little tuft of horsehair, whatever it's supposed to be, is done pretty well. And as you can kind of see, there's even these like gold accents, which are supposed to be nails. So it's very, very cleanly done. And actually this piece can be popped off as well. It's kind of stiff right now, but you can pop it off though, this green piece. And the other head he comes with is actually a older dwarf face with a long beard, and the beard is hard though, with green wings. And these wings are actually removable. And so, this line of figures in particular is meant to be modular, so you can take pieces from another figure. Say, for example, this horn right here. You can pop that off. And if you want, you can actually replace the wings with a set of horns. So it's pretty cool. It's a really nice feature of this particular line. Okay, but JORUND is actually supposed to be some sort of like dwarf wizard. So this is actually the more appropriate look. Okay, well that does it for the accessories. Let's go ahead and take a look at the figure itself. Alright, so JORUND stands from his feet to the top of his feathers. Well, I can't even see the top of his feathers on camera, but about 16.5 centimeters. and about 6.5 inches to the top of those feathers. So actually, he was a little taller than I was expecting, if you include the feathers, but he's meant to be a dwarf. But here is Jorund next to a figure that is in the same line, Sir Godfrey. And so you see here, yes, as appropriately for a dwarf, he is a bit tinier over here, and his legs and his arms overall are smaller as well too, though. So overall, a pretty nice size for a dwarf. But here is, gosh, I forgot his name already. Jorund. Can't remember. Here's Jorund next to some figures you might recognize. So we have the JoJo's Adventure, Soft and Wet, who is taller. Here is Jorund next to Weather Report, which I actually just reviewed a second ago, which is why he's right here. Here is Jorund next to the Kill la Kill Satsuki Kyoryun Figma. So if you're familiar with Figma, then you'll have a good idea of how tall he is. So a pretty decent size, all things considered. Pretty bulky. So that does it for his size. Let's go ahead and take a look at his articulation. I'm going to put these figures away. Alright, so for the Mythic Legions line here, the idea behind the figures is that you're supposed to be able to like mix and match different pieces of the character's armor to create your own unique character. How all that works kind of depends, because like not all the armor pieces match up in color. So for example, you can't just like pop off the shoulders and put it onto him because the colors don't match, but the idea is still the same though. So let me show you, while also doing the articulation, pieces you could take off though. So again, you could pop off the head over here though, but for the articulation, I guess let's do it first. So the articulation, it is on a ball socket, so you can look left and right. You can look a little bit up, and then like basically none down because of the beard. And if you pop the head off, you can see that it's also on this peg over here that's hunched forward. And I think it's a very nice touch though, because he is like a dwarf, and dwarves are known for being hunched over and all that kind of stuff though. So if I pop on this head, you can see it actually will have a better range of motion over here though. So let me just leave the head off though. And then for the shoulders over here, you have, and it's a little stiff, you have about horizontal over here, and then you do have the rotation in the arm, but again the sculpt does get in the way, but the articulation is technically in there. For the elbows, you have about 90 degrees, not as much as I would like though. I personally like my figures a lot of articulation, so it is a bummer. It's a guy in armor though, so I'm gonna give it some leeway. So you get about 90 degrees, you get some swivel at the elbow over here. Then you get the full rotation at the forearm, no problem over there. And then for the wrist, you do have the swivel. I guess, yeah, we have a hinge going up and down. It's a little stiff on this side, so let me just do it on this side actually. So you have the hinge going up and down, a little bit over here, and then you do have the full rotation over here. And then for the waist, it is on a single peg. Not single peg, but a joint just like this. So you do get a pretty decent range of motion, kind of swiveling. In terms of actually bending forward, that's about it. Bending back, that's about it. And while I'm here, let me pop off the torso to show you all how this works. So these pieces, again, you can take them apart, but you can actually take off this skirt piece over here. I don't know if skirt piece, but like this armor piece over here. You can actually also take off this piece over here as well. And again, like I mentioned before, since I have another dwarf, what you can do, if you wanted to, was to trade the skirt pieces over here, as well as trade this armor over here. It's a pretty cool feature, which I really like. So let me go ahead and pop that back on, though. Put his clothes back on. Put it back on. Okay, hopefully I can get this piece in. It is a soft plastic, so it is a little hard to deal with, though, if you're trying to put him back in. Okay, we'll move him out of the way. And we'll pop that back on. Alright. So, for the hips though, as you can see, these are mostly soft pieces of plastic. For the hips, the articulation is a lot better than the arms, so you get pretty good range of motion going forward. You get, let's see, this much going back. The armor does hinder a little bit thanks to the sculpt, and then out to the side you get the full splits, actually. And then for the thigh, you do get a thigh swivel, which is pretty nice. For the knees, only single jointed, but you get about 90 degrees, which is pretty good. Again, thanks to it being armor. And then you do get a shin swivel as well over here, separate from the thigh. So you get him to do stuff like this, which is pretty nice. Get the swivel over here. And then the ankle, you do get this much going back. Again, the sculpt does hinder this much going forward. You get the full rotation right here. And as well as a rocker over here. Get about this much. So overall, in terms of articulation, it's actually decent. I would say if only the arm articulation was better, I would like these. Well, I do like these figures. I just wish the arm articulation wasn't so limited because they just can't really do that much. The leg articulation is actually pretty good. But that being said, though, once you pop on the shoulder pads, the figure does look nicer, but because these shoulders are attached at the torso, it really seriously hinders the articulation moving forward and backwards, even out to the side, right? And this isn't even combined with the head. So as you can see here, once you pop on the head with the beard, that arm is going nowhere, and this arm is kind of not going anywhere either, so that is a bummer. That being said, though, these figures do look really, really good. I have to say, the best part of these figures is the paint and sculpt and the overall appearance. So, despite the limited articulation, this figure will have a lot of shelf appeal. A lot, I would have to say. Even if you're not into knights, they just stand out based on how bold the colors are. And I forgot to mention, though, in terms of how to put the weapons into the arm, you simply just slide them in. Pretty straightforward. You just slide them in. It is held on by tension. So overall, I would say if you're a fan of medieval fantasy, and if you're looking for a line of knights and things of that sort, you should probably look into Mythic Legions. They do have them at Big Bad Toy Store, I believe. So the line is not easy to find, though. So let me tell you how you should find them. If you can, go to like Horsemen.com or Store Horsemen. These figures are made by an independent company, and they are only made in limited runs. So like they sometimes open pre-orders, so I would say do it through that. They're about $33, but then if you get it through Big Bad Toy Store, which is an official distributor, it's $50. But I would say even that is a good price considering how hard these are to find and how expensive they get on the secondary market. But in terms of overall paint and sculpt, and again, overall value, if you're into it, I would say, yeah, go for it. I don't think there's anything actually close to this type of quality when it comes to this theme of figure. Anything else I want to say? I guess I talked about the paint and sculpt in detail. Pretty good. Okay, well, that pretty much does it for this review, though. If you enjoyed, feel free to give me a thumbs up and subscribe for more. I'm going to put JORUND in a few poses at the end and let you guys get a closer look. But yeah, thanks for watching.